You can have a seat. So to summarize what Aaron and Carlos were letting you know, we're here today, in case you didn't know, just want to make sure. Next week is going to be our last Sunday morning of full programming, which has no effect on you if you're single. And has no effect on you if you are married, but you don't have kids. It only has effect on you if you have little humans in the back, all right? And so if you have little humans, we know how important it is for you to get away from them. And, I mean for them to be in meaningful teaching and spiritual growth for their lives. And so next Sunday is going to be the last Sunday of full programming. All right, how many of you does that affect? Raise your hand. Okay, just not that many of you. All right, just a few of you. All right, we need more children in Hollywood. That's clear. We have a lot of animals, a lot of dogs, and a lot of cats. We need more humans. Okay, all right. So next Sunday, last full programming, and then the world shifts. All right, we're going to be here on the 15th because we know there's some people who are simply going to forget that next Sunday is our last full Sunday. So we're going to go ahead and have one more Sunday. I think the gathering is going to be like at 11. We're going to have one gathering on the 15th here on the 11th. So if you want to come and chill here in Hollywood, you can come here on the 15th. But if you want to go to the new spots and check them out and see where we're going, we know one of the two for certain. All right, we are going to Studio City. Come on. Now, don't put that up there till I announce. Come on. Have you ever been at the Academy Awards? You don't announce who won. And North Hollywood, so it's technically North Hollywood. All right. Now, let me be very clear. This is not our permanent future. This is where we're going for right now. So if you miss a Sunday, you might not know that we're no longer there. So I want to encourage you to stay as connected as you can. If you can be here every Sunday, that's the best way to stay connected. If you miss a Sunday, can you just keep checking Instagram, social media, the website? So June 15th, Studio City. We'll have full programming there, and it'll mean something different than here. All right, so we're going to be starting from scratch. It's going to be so much fun. If you want everything to be perfect, it's going to be disappointing. And it's going to be raw. It's going to be imperfect. We're going to be growing this together. We're going to be building something together. All right? And so it's going to be fun. All right? I drove to Studio City this week on Thursday to look around. I've lived in LA almost 35 years, first time. And so I was like, wow, I didn't know this was here. This is here. And so I didn't even know we had people coming from there. It's amazing. I love that. And now we're going to you. And so, all right. And then our other announcement is the next week we're going somewhere, but we don't know where yet. But we do know where. You know what I mean? We're going to Culver City. And so, oh, wow. A little group of you, a lot of excitement. That's good. I just went there. Yesterday, I think it was. It's awesome. Like a lot of great restaurants and great food and clean. I was kind of shocked. I didn't know we had clean in LA. I thought, wow, how do they do that here? And I realized, they incorporate it separately. That makes sense. Okay, so we're going to the big city of Culver City, and we're still working out a few little logistics because we're trying to make it family friendly to be able to have kids there. Okay, it's very easy to find spots you can just put singles in. It's a little harder once you start having kids and you make things more complicated for all of us. And, but we want that complication. Okay, so you guys can keep praying because we're going that way. We just don't know where. Okay, but next week, I feel very confident that next week we will tell you where. Or the week after. And so, all right. Okay, so we know. Next week we're going to be here, all of us together. Show up early. Make this a significant Sunday. I have friends flying in from around the country who just want to be here on the last Sunday of full programming. So we should not miss this Sunday. Bring your friends and say, it's our last time, come. And come on. And then we go to Studio City. And then the week after that, we're going to go to Culver City. And we're trying to get in conversations with Elon, and we'll be planting in Mars. And we need some volunteers for that group. All right. No, we're going to have it's an incredible, incredible moment for us. It's a beautiful, beautiful future. And it's a great reminder that the most significant things in life happen in transitions. You may not really fully be aware of this yet in your life. Some of you, you're only aware of a couple of significant transitions in your life. It's the transition out of childhood into adolescence, and the transition out of adolescence into adulthood. And so you're aware of one or two significant transitions in your life. The transition where your parents were no longer paying for your life. Some of you have not yet stepped into that transition, but there's that shift, right? There is the shift when you leave home. There's a shift when you go to college or you go to work. There's a shift in your life where now you have to make decisions that affect your life, and you have no safety net of someone else. There are certain transitions in your life that are significant. For many of you, the transition of moving here to LA was a huge transition in your life. And one of the exciting things about transitions is also the very thing that makes them incredibly nerve-wracking. Transitions are filled with uncertainty. Transitions are, by definition, the loss of something for the opportunity of the gain of something, but there's that in-between period where you're losing what you had, but have not yet gained what you hope to have. And so a huge part of what makes transitions so important is that they're the most viable place to discover the value of faith. Because when things are stable, when they're constant, you really do not need the same level of faith as when things are uncertain and mysterious. And so by the nature of our human experiences, there are certain moments that many people will step into and many people will step back from. Or if I could put it a different way, there are certain experiences in life that become a filtering system of who goes forward and who does not. I don't know if you ever had this experience, but I have had this experience. It's very awkward. I was invited to a restaurant years and years and years ago, decades ago, in Colorado to eat dinner. But when I got there, they didn't tell me that you have to wear a coat and a tie. So I was in a suit, but it was a sweatsuit, and they would not let me into the restaurant. And it made me so angry and embarrassed because I was there with other people who were in coats and ties. No idea that they didn't bother to let me know this was a requirement. I've been to other places. Kim and I were staying in this place in Key West because she has some friends down there, and I asked about eating breakfast, and they said, well, you have to wear a coat. Like, why in the world would I want to wear a coat to eat breakfast? And so there's a lot of places in my life, and I've had several really poignant moments where I was told I was not allowed in by the way I was dressed. Other places, I chose not to go in because of their rules. And it always struck me as interesting, and I was reading how it was only in the 1970s that women were allowed to run the Boston Marathon. That's in my lifetime. That's crazy. It's in our lifetime that Tiger Woods was actually technically not allowed to join golf clubs or courses that he won. It's astonishing to me how we create these filtering systems that decide who's allowed in and who's not allowed in based on incredibly superficial criteria. But what about if there was a portal, a door, a gate, a club that you could only walk through depending on your bravery? If there's a sign over the door that said, only the brave, I wonder how many of us, yes, how many of us would be invited in? See, that's what these critical transition moments are, especially in the scriptures, because what you find over and over again is that the critical moments where men and women rise up that become noteworthy in history is that there was an invitation in those moments that basically had the subcaption, "Only the brave." And this is what you find in the book of Joshua, chapter 1. I'm going to begin reading in verse 5. This is God speaking to Joshua. He says to him, "No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you or forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Now, I love this particular section of the scriptures because it reiterates over and over again this phrase, "be strong and courageous." And because of that, if you just have a very superficial level of knowledge of the book of Joshua or of Joshua himself, what you would assume is that Joshua, and it's been carried generationally, that Joshua is a courageous person. I mean, if you thought of Joshua as being a coward, Joshua would not have become a popular name. But how many of you know a Joshua? Raise your hand. Joshuas are popular. Joshuas are really popular. Guys like Joshua, girls like Joshua. Joshua likes Joshua. There's something about the name Joshua that just gives you a sense of here's a courageous person. And so there's been an attribution throughout history that Joshuas are courageous. That's why very few people name their children Judas. Strong name. Not that different than Judas. But Judah is popular, but Judas is not. Another name that's not particularly popular, Jezebel. There's just not a lot of Jezebels out there. I mean, what's wrong? It has a ring to it, right? Jessica, Jezebel. I mean, really, what's the difference? The story they tell. The story that Joshua tells to us is a story of courage and bravery. But that's actually not why God has this conversation with them. He doesn't have this conversation with Joshua because Joshua is so inherently brave. He has this conversation with Joshua because Joshua is a coward. Because he's afraid. Because he feels overwhelmed. Because he's uncertain of his own capacity. Because the world has just shifted. And so God begins to tell him over and over again, these are the attributes I need you to choose if you're going to enter this next phase of our journey. Now, just in case you're not sure of the backdrop, we'll go back to verse 1. Because if you ever have a book that starts from a negative note, it's this one. In fact, that was kind of the dilemma, even with Aaron and Carlos doing the announcements. Because you don't want to begin with, next week is our last Sunday. So they had to kind of begin with, we have a great future ahead of us. In 2 weeks, we're going to be doing this. In 3 weeks, we're going to be doing this. Why? Because next week is the last Sunday. You don't really want to begin with the funeral. But that's how the book of Joshua begins. When you read Joshua chapter 1, beginning of verse 1, it says this, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. That's a really discouraging, depressing way to start. It would have been way better if God had said to Joshua, don't worry, Moses was sick, but I got him. Well, he wasn't doing well, but I just wanted to be dramatic. Moses is about to come in on the sunset. You're going to see him from the distance, dust, making his silhouette. Moses is back. No, God begins by saying, Joshua, I just want you to know, he's dead. The leader of his people is dead. The man who stood in front of Pharaoh, fearlessly calling him out to set his people free, that man is dead. You know, Moses, the one who went to the mountain and talked to me face to face, he's dead. The one who had the commandments I trusted with these 10 commandments, he's dead. The man who struck the rock and water came out, that man is dead. The man who stood and held his staff up and the waters divided so you could go to freedom, that man is dead. The man who closed the waters when Egypt was in the middle of the river and swallowed them up, that man is dead. Any questions? Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give them. He didn't really give Joshua any time to mourn. He didn't say, I know this is going to be like traumatic for you. Joshua could have said, God, you just triggered me. Like, I don't know if I can get through this. I'm traumatized. And God said, get up and lead your people. They were not his people. He was Moses' assistant. He was Moses' aide. So when Moses was tired, he carried the staff. And when a miracle was needed, he gave the staff back to Moses. Joshua was there at every step of the way, right behind Moses, never being seen. He says, now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give them to the Israelites. And he says, I will give you every place where you set your foot as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. And no one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. How can you know that you are among the brave? Because there is a light that God calls you into where the invitation is only for the brave. And you get to choose it because the brave accept their call. This was Joshua's defining moment. And God is literally saying to Joshua, you saw how I called Moses out, and you experienced how he trusted me, and you know the outcome of his choices. And now I need you to believe that the same way I called Moses, I am calling you. The same way I kept my promises to Moses, I will keep my promises to you. And sometimes I don't know if we understand the difference between Moses and you, or Moses and me, is that Moses accepted the call. And this was Joshua's defining moment. And God was saying, Joshua, I am inviting you into the same journey I invited Moses into, but more. Moses delivered my people out of Egypt, but never took them into the promised land. So Joshua, as much as you admired Moses, as much as you saw Moses as bigger than life, I'm going to do something in you and through you that Moses could not accomplish. But it's the brave who accept the call. You may think it's because you have less talent, or you have had less opportunity, or you don't know the right people, or you just don't have the right intelligence, or whatever it may be. But the defining characteristics between you and the person God uses in an extraordinary way may simply be one definition, and it's bravery. You're already chosen. You just may not have accepted the calling on your life. This line, I will give you every place where your foot sets, brought back such memories to me. When I was a much younger man, in my 20s, I had this idea, and Kim and I were not yet married. We were dating, and then we got married in the middle of this, but I started going into this community in South Dallas that became the highest murder rate, highest crime rate of the United States. Every church left the zip code. The probation office and the district attorney's office, their employees were not allowed to come down there. And for some crazy reason, it felt like God sort of leveraged me to go into that area and begin to grow a church. And I remember I thought, we should try to buy land down here. It's very inexpensive. It wasn't high real estate and value. And I saw this open land. It was crazy. It was right off the two major streets in the middle of the inner city, and it was right next to a liquor store. And there was a law in Texas, you cannot build a liquor store next to a church. But there's no law that says you can't build a church next to a liquor store. So I found a way through that law. And I saw that land, and I went to this man at the Baptist Association. And I said, I'd like for you to lend us the money to buy this piece of land. It was like an acre of land or more. And it was only like $75,000. It was crazy how inexpensive. It felt like it was so huge to me. And he said, son, why would we buy land there? And I knew he loved real estate. And I said, well, you can buy this land through us, and in your heart you don't believe we'll succeed. So then you'll get the land back. Then you can sell it for probably 3 or 4 times the property value. And so he said, okay. And he lent me the money for that building or that land. I went and bought that land. It was strangely inexpensive, I have to tell you. It was less expensive than all the land all around it. Even in the inner city, it was oddly priced low. And so then when we started doing the work to try to build the building there, we went 25 feet deep in a core sample, and they found trash. It was a landfill. Then they did another core sample, and it was trash, and a third core sample, and it was trash. And so I had convinced this association to buy an acre of a landfill, which is why there was no building on it, because you can't build a property on a landfill. And I remember being called into his office, and I'm like 26 years old. And this man was a big man, physically intimidating. And he looked at me and goes, son, do you know that piece of crap you talked me into buying? I said, yes, sir. I'm very aware of it. And he goes, this is humiliating for me. I said, I had a weird experience this week, and I'd like for you to take one more core sample. He said, do you know how much a core sample costs? I did. But I also had it confirmed in that moment. And I wanted to say to him, hey, you've wasted so much money. What's another $5,000? But I just restrained myself at 26. I said, let's be wise. Because you know what happened? That week, I was walking on that property going, God, how could you let me buy a landfill? Like, how, God, I'm stupid. Like, you have to have protective limitations in my decision making, and you know me. Why would you do this? Like, I'm not Moses. I'm not even Joshua. I'm like some other guy that was the aid of the aid of the aid. And I'm walking on this property, and this man walks up to me, huge man, and very high. And he walked up to me and he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, I bought this land. It's a landfill. I bought an acre of garbage. And I was just reading in the Bible that it said, everywhere I set my feet, that God will give me that. So I'm literally walking on this property saying, God, would you transform this landfill into soil? Now, I'm talking to this guy who's stoned, but no one else will listen to me. So, so I said, I know it's crazy to walk this land and to pray over it and believe that everywhere the sole of my foot touches is mine, but I don't really have a lot of options. This man looked at me and goes, well, if you'll pray for trash, will you pray for me? I said, yeah, you got that. And I still remember right in the middle of that acre of land, I'm praying for this man. And something in my soul said, go ask for one more core sample. So I remember now sitting in that office asking for that last core sample, and that man chewing me out, telling me that this was my failure. But he did one more core sample. And I can tell you, decades later, that core sample came out soil. And I know it sounds crazy, but my wife Kim is here, and she was there. And by the way, the realtor who sold me that property before now came back and offered me 3 to 5 times more instantly. Because now that we had certification to build there, the property had value. And as I'm reading this, I'm remembering what it was like to have no experience, no talent, no ability, no training. All I did was accept the call. Said, God, I want to be here in this spot. And it was exhilarating to me to be in the highest crime rate, highest murder rate spot in the United States. If you're going to die, you should die there. And the reason I went there is because I was brand new in my faith. I'm reading this book, and what I read is that God calls men and women to live lives of bravery, to step into a journey that is impossible and guaranteed for failure if God does not show up. And I wonder how many of us live such unimpressive lives, not because of outside factors, but because we simply haven't said, God, I accept the call. The call isn't to be more talented, more intelligent, more gifted. The call is to live a life of bravery. And I can tell you, the brave accept the call. I've had calls from friends all over the world. Texts, emails, DMs. Are you okay? Are you okay? We just heard you lost a Hollywood property. Are you okay? They heard my talk when I said I was exhilarated. They still didn't think I was okay. You know why? Because across the board, Christianity has become a really safe, domesticated religion. Man, if the air conditioner isn't right, people pick somewhere else. If the chairs are uncomfortable, you don't show up. We just become soft. And then we wonder why God doesn't do extraordinary things in us and through us. God said to Joshua, I give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. I refuse to believe that God would call Moses to such an extraordinary life and then call me to average and mediocrity. How about you? The brave accept their call, but the brave own their courage. Back to verse 5. He says, no one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. Man, we live in such a victim's society. It's everyone else's fault that you don't have the life you want. It's everyone else's responsibility to solve your problems. It's no one else's calling to fulfill your dreams. It's no one else's responsibility to create your future. You have to believe no one can stand against you. He goes, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you, and I will never leave you or forsake you. Then he says, be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people. Be strong and very courageous. And then verse 9, it's so clear. He says, oh, you guys are coming way too early. Listen to verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Now listen again, because you might miss it. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Courage is not a promise from God to you. Courage is a command from God to you. There's some things God promises you and he gives you. And there's some things that God has placed within you and you have to give to him. Have I not commanded you, Joshua? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua, you need to step into your courage. And I love the phrase, you need to own your courage. Because owning means you possess it. You know what courage feels like? It feels like action in the midst of fear. That's what courage feels like. Have you ever wondered, well, maybe the courageous feel differently than I do because I'm afraid? If you have no fear, you have no courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the absence of self. You need to trust God. But you also need to know yourself. Because when you trust in God, that's your faith. But when you trust in God for who you are, that's your courage. Because God did not say to Joshua, I'm going to make this easy for you. He did not say, I'm paving the way, I'm clearing the land, I'm taking care of all the opposition, I'm moving all your enemies aside. He said, Joshua, I am preparing you for the fight. That's why the brave own their courage. Have you hoped somehow that if you gave your life to Jesus and if you followed him, life would get easy? I mean, has there been a subtlety in your prayers saying, God, I've trusted you. Why is this so hard? I think people who don't trust God have easier lives. I think it's easier for a leaf to float down the river where it's not fighting the rapids. It may feel like you have momentum, but all you're doing is complying. I think it takes work for the salmon to fight upstream. If you choose to live a courageous life, your life will be harder. If you choose to accept your calling and take on the life that God created you to live, your life is going to be filled with challenges. He says it over and over again, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous. I find it rare that God would ever have to repeat himself if we already had something that we needed. God speaks into our souls over and over again, where that is our point of weakness, our point of fear, our point of pain. You should pay attention to what God repeats to you. He has to keep saying to you, I love you, I love you, I love you, is that you don't believe you're loved. If he keeps saying to you, I got you, I got you, I got you, you don't believe in his goodness. But I think so oftentimes God will actually speak to us and say, I need you to step up and live the life I created you to live. I need you to stop praying for the things that I've called you to take on. I need you to get your butt out of bed, to set your sights on the life that I've whispered into your soul. I need you to find the courage to do the hard work of creating a world that would not exist without you. The brave accept the call, and the brave own their courage. And I'm just going to wrap this up by saying the brave take possession of what is promised. In verses 10 and 11, it says, So Joshua ordered the officers of the people, go through the camp and tell the people, get your provisions ready. 3 days from now, you will cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving for you to own. Maybe we've gotten prayer backwards. We pray and ask God to give us things. But maybe we should actually pray so that God would make us something. See, maybe the things that you get, you'll never value as the things that you work for. And sometimes you've had to divide it and go, no. If you're working for it, it's not God. Who told you that? Have you actually read the Bible? The things that God actually gave his people were the things they had to work for and struggle for and fight for the most. The brave own their calling. They own their courage and they take possession of what is promised. God says, now I want you to go. And then Joshua, he says, in 3 days we're moving. I gave you guys so much time. See, if we really want to match the brave, be ready to move on a dime. There's a filter in life. But the filter is one that we create for ourselves. When you face challenges or hardships, struggles, disappointments, failures, you create a filter. When you see yourself as a victim, you just paralyze yourself and you lose your future. If you keep asking God to give you things without doing the work to step into them, God cannot give you anything you are not prepared to receive. But when you put in the work, say, God, I'm willing to go and take possession of the land. I love that Joshua got up the next day. He didn't even explain to them that he was replacing Moses. He didn't go, hey, guys, I know this is kind of crazy. It was Moses, now it's me. He just stepped into his calling. He didn't make excuses. He didn't have to make explanations. He just stepped into what God called him to. I think in this world of social media, let me tell you, if you step into your calling, you're going to get so many haters. If you step up and actually accept that God has called you in such a unique way that you are chosen by God to do something unique and beautiful with your life. See, if you don't embrace that, only the narcissists will have the confidence to do great things. Go, who do you think you are to think you can do something extraordinary? You can say, I don't think I'm anyone. I'm as shocked as you. But the sign on the door said, only the brave. And people will bring up your past and say, you're not qualified to step into this kind of calling. You don't understand. There is only one qualification, only the brave. Say, who do you think you are? You haven't trained, you haven't prepared, you're not smart enough, you're not talented enough, you're not good enough. You can say, you don't understand. You didn't read the sign over the door. It said, only the brave. And I may be outdone in everything else in life, but I want to challenge you to live a life with more courage than I live. I want to challenge you to have guts. Because I'm going to be the old guy now. You're soft. And soft lives leave you empty. God does not create futures for soft people. Because when you're soft and you live in fear and you live in self-doubt and you live in victimization, you just get trapped in the past. You're in between the exodus of Egypt and the promised land because you're lost in the transition. Because you thought when God set you free, it meant free and easy. And it always meant free and hard. And by the way, when Moses took his people to the Red Sea, he just held up the staff and the water parted. And then 3 days later, when they stood at the Jordan River, God said, nah, that's last year. That's so last year. And he goes, I want you guys to walk out on the water. Can you imagine being all the people who followed Moses and now they're saying, okay, we're ready. Joshua, do your thing. He goes, yeah, it's not going to work that way. He said he's not going to gonna do that, you have to like walk out into the water, and it's only when the soles of your feet touch the water that the water will part. Because yesterday's faith isn't good enough for today's challenge. And if I had a choice, if God said to me, Erwin, I'm going to give you a choice of my style. I'll part the water before you walk, or I'll part it as you walk. And this is the one thing I know without any doubt in my life. Everything extraordinary in my life, every unimaginable good thing that has ever happened in my life, not happened because I was talented enough or good enough or smart enough or skilled enough. The only thing that ever distinguished me from almost anyone else in my life is I just chose to live a life of bravery. And bravery ended up looking like talent. Wow, I can't believe you pulled that off. You are so talented. No, I'm just stupid courageous. I just felt fear and saw fear as my fuel to step into my future. And by the way, when you accept the destiny God has for you, the calling God has for you, you're going to have so many haters. You're going to have so many haters. People, you know who are going to really hate you? The people who don't know you and the people who know you. Like, it just covers everyone. And the people who don't know you will say things like, you're not talented enough. You're a wannabe. Who do you think you are? And you can respond. See, you don't have to protect yourself. You don't have to defend yourself. You go, you think I don't deserve this? You don't even know me. I really don't deserve this. It would really frustrate you. You think I'm not talented enough? You don't even know how little talent I had. This is amazing how much I'm doing with so little talent. And then the people who know you will go, you're not qualified for this. I know your past. I know how you've messed up. I know how broken you are. I know how you've hurt people in the past. I know how you disappointed everyone. You can say, you are so right. I wouldn't choose me. But I didn't do the choosing. I got chosen, and I'm saying yes. So even in the middle of this transition, even as we leave Hollywood, what excites me is I saw the sign over the door. This future has a criteria. You can't pass through if you're talented enough or gifted enough or smart enough or good enough. It's only the brave. There's a life that God is calling you into right now. And when people start asking you, who do you think you are? You say, oh, you don't understand. There are no qualifications for this path. It's only the brave. He didn't say, I'm calling only the talented. He said, only the brave, so I'm in. He didn't say only the good. He said, only the brave, so I'm in. He didn't say that I had to be educated enough or skilled enough or experienced enough. I can make a lot of stupid mistakes because the criteria for this path is only the brave. So my question is that you? If there's one qualification for the future God imagines for you, is that it's only the brave who may enter here. Will you step into that future? You're never going to be able to say to God, you didn't pick me because I wasn't talented enough. You didn't pick me, God, because I wasn't educated enough. You didn't pick me, God, because I wasn't popular enough. You didn't pick me, God, because I wasn't wearing the jacket and the tie. You didn't pick me because it wasn't the right color or the right gender. Nah. The future that God invites you to has only one sign over the door. One sign over the door. Only the brave. Only the brave. I'm going to choose to walk through that door. You coming with me? Would you just bow your heads with me just for a moment? Just close your eyes. What I find is whenever God is doing something with all of us, he's doing something with each of us. And he's calling us into a huge transition. And the sign over Mosaic's door is only the brave. But I wonder if there's a transition in your life, a choice in your life, a future inviting you, waiting for you. But the sign over that door is only the brave. And you've chosen up to now to not walk through that door. I want you right now in this moment just to visualize in your own mind's eye walking through the door that says only the brave. I want you to stand right at that door. I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to think about what it means and what it's going to cost you. It's going to move you into uncertainty. It's going to move you into mystery. It's going to move you maybe into chaos. It's going to move you into instability. You're going to lose what you know. You're going to lose mediocrity and status quo and certainty. But can you see yourself right now just walking through that door where it says only the brave, and you choose that path right now? Right now, if you can see yourself doing that, then say, yes, Jesus, I accept this invitation where only the brave can go. You may be here and you've never entrusted your life to Jesus. You've never given your life to the God who loves you, to the one who died for you and rose from the dead. Jesus chose his bravery to sacrifice his life so that you and I could live. And if you've never given your life to Jesus, I want to invite you right now to cross the line of faith and just say, Jesus, I give you my life. Right now, just tell him, Jesus, I give you my life. When he comes to dwell within you, that faith and courage that you've been longing for, it is awakened inside of you. It's not simply something that is given to you, it's something that you become. If you're ready right now, just say, Jesus, I give you my life. Right now, just tell them, Jesus, I give you my life. If this is your prayer, I want to pray for you. First, I want to pray for you if you've never invited Jesus into your life, but today you are saying, Jesus, I give you my life. If this is your prayer, I want you to hold your hand up high. I want to see you right now. Just do it with courage, with bravery right now. Jesus, I give you my life. Beautiful. Anyone else around the room? Beautiful. Anyone else? Love that. Beautiful. Now, if you're here and you would say, Erwin, I've been paralyzed by fear. I've had a million excuses. But today I want to live a life of bravery. I want to walk through the door that says only the brave. I want you right now just to stand, and I'm going to pray for you that you would have unexplainable courage emerging out of your life. And if you raise your hand to give your life to Jesus, I want you to stand right now too so I can pray for you. If you just say, I'm so sick and tired of being paralyzed by fear. I'm so sick and tired of accepting a lesser version of myself. I want to step into this moment with courage and faith. I want to live a life that requires a level of bravery that I've never had right now. If that's you, I just want you to stand. I'm going to pray for you right now. Beautiful. Anyone else? This moment's for you. It's not for anyone else. It's for you. We're going to pray. Anyone else needs to stand? And by the way, if your heart's pounding in your chest because you're thinking, should I stand? Remaining seated is one of those moments where you're paralyzed, but God is inviting you to a small act of courage. Because when you stand, you're choosing courage, you're choosing bravery, you're choosing a future as you trust God with your life. Father, I thank you for the men and women who in this moment have stood. God, sometimes we don't even understand ourselves and why we choose so much less. We find ourselves frustrated with our lives, even hating our lives at times, yet not choosing the higher path. So, Father, I pray that you would awaken such courage in each person that they would almost not even recognize themselves. The courage to say yes, the courage to live by truth, the courage to live in the light, to walk away from the darkness, the courage to love, the courage to forgive. I pray, God, that you would make this room a room of the brave. And Father, for those who invited Jesus into their life for the very first time, I just pray that you just wrap them up in your love and let them know that you heard their prayer, they belong to you, and they are beginning a new journey with you right now. And Jesus, I thank you that you modeled bravery by giving your life for us. You love us enough to call us to a life of bravery as well. And for that we are grateful. And we pray in your name, Jesus. Amen.